Let's have a quick look back to what happened on Tuesday night. A 0-0 draw, but there were so many positives to come out of that game from your side.
Yeah, I think so. I think thinking back about the game now, and probably I never really sleep that well after a game anyway. You know, you're trying to weigh everything up and what happened in the game and little things that you can get better at. But probably coming in here today and on reflection, there was a hell of a lot of positives to come out of the game. You know, we had 4 lads making the home debuts, 2 of them making the first starts for us. 2 centre backs who'd never played together and never met each other up until the day before. So there's some really positive signs to come out of the game, and like I said last night, probably the disappointing side of it that we didn't actually win the game because we felt that we'd done more than enough to do that. But generally we're really pleased about it.
And you're going to need all that again, and maybe more at Altrincham on Saturday.
Yeah.
A team that last week won at Chester and just 1 point out a couple of places outside the playoffs.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's another tough one. I watched them this morning. I was in here this morning watching their game from on Saturday against Chester. Played some really good football. Got a lot similar thing to what I want to try and do here, and good blend of experience with a lot of young players who have got a point to prove and are desperate to do well. And that's kind of the model that they're going along, you know, and they've got some talented lads, so it's going to be a tough game.
And in Jordan Hume, we've got a goal scorers right on form. He's one of the leading scorers in the division.
Yeah.
I think there's only Kidderminster who have scored more goals in National North than Altrincham.
Yeah, like I say, I can see that by watching them play. You know, they're very attack-minded, a lot of energy in the team. The lad up front keeps scoring. You know, he's got his records being really good. So we have to deal with that on Saturday, and then hopefully we can be nice and solid again, what I thought we did for generally large parts against Swindon. Same again last night. You know, I think we pretty much most of the time nullified most of their key threats, and it'll have to be the same again on Saturdays for us to go there and get a good result.
I've heard some of their managers' comments after the game on Saturday when they won at Chester, and he thinks there's a bit of negativity around their club, and their supporters are expecting more than what the team are giving them at the minute, but they're a team who's come up, they're 8th, just outside the playoffs.
Yeah.
In general in football, do you think their expectations of supporters across the board now are much higher than what they used to be? I
think so, yeah. Maybe, if you think about it from an Altrincham point of view, without being disrespectful to them, it's probably that I would like to think that is a little bit harsh, you know. They've done great so far. As you say, they've come up and started off the season really well, and they're in a really strong position, so but I think sometimes fans, the expectancy levels get a little bit too high. But what I would say is I understand it here because of where the club's been in the past, you know, and I think I've said previously about we have to have players that can deal with that expectancy and go and thrive in it and go and express themselves. The things that we saw last night, that's what the expectations levels are there. If I'm thinking back now about the fans during the game and after the game, they were with the players, you know, they were backing them, they were encouraging them. We put them under a lot of pressure and we never got the goal, but then the reaction again after the game, you know, I was looking around watching, seeing how they reacted to obviously the performance, and it was very similar to what the fans were like after the Swindon game. So that's like little things that stick in my back of my mind in terms of thinking this is how we need to be, and we'll have them with us if we are.
With the FA Trophy coming around next weekend, we're still in that stop-start period in the league really, where you play 1 or 2 games, then you have a fortnight off.
Yeah.
That's because of the gap with the trophy game. It's going to be vital that you do win this game at the weekend.
I think so, yeah. We want to go there and get a really good result. I think every game that we play, we have to set up to go and win the game. I think that's really important because you can get caught out if you go with a little bit of a negative mindset and you sit back a little bit and think you'll shut up shop. And we didn't do that at Swindon, so we're certainly not going to, without being disrespectful to Altrincham, we're not going to go and do that on Saturday. You know, I want us to go and dominate the game and dictate the game, and also previous about a couple of times where we changed formation because of someone else. Well, we want to be the ones who take the game to them and let them be the ones that have to change because they can't deal with us. So that's the way that we'll set up on Saturday, that is for certain.
Everyone's still okay after last night? How did Josh Law come through after his issue of the weekend?
No, he's fine, he's fine. He's been playing table tennis for about 3 hours this morning, so he's probably done a different recovery process to everyone else. But no, he's done, I'm only joking, he's done everything that he needed to do. He's not said anything to Ian about any problems or anything like that. And Josh is just real steady Eddie, you know, he's a 6, 7 out of 10 every week. He's played 3 or 4 different positions for me all season, and he's a great lad, you know, he just gets on with his job, never never moans, never kicks up a fuss, and it is really reliable, you know, and you need players like that in your group.
And we've talked in the past about maybe wanting to have a little bit more your selections, maybe not as many changes on a week-by-week basis.
Yeah.
How much easier does that make your life as a manager if you know the 11 you've got, if they can stay fully fit, they're going to be your first 11?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the game last night, with obviously how the game prevailed and the performances of all the players, this is one of the things that I was hoping for, you know, make it as difficult as possible for me to have to change it around. The last 2 games we've stick with the same formation. I think probably the last 3 games we've done that. And I do think generally we actually play better when we played 4-3-3 as such. I know it was a little bit lopsided last night because we had the 2 lads down the middle, but I think it's given us a lot more control in games. I know like the 3-5-2 we've probably scored more goals generally, but in terms of what we have now in the team and the style we can play because of the players that we've got, I think it's a building process, but I think we're getting there.
And the new players that played on Tuesday against Chester, do you think they have actually helped some of the older players in their progression? So Sean Newton, I thought, had a much better game on Tuesday than what he has been doing the last few weeks. Maybe because of the help Alex Pray on that left-hand side.
Yeah, well, he's got someone outside him who we can give the ball to and say, go on, you know. Sean's the type of lad who's full of energy, wants to get up and down that line, and he's probably now looking in front of him and seeing Alex and thinking, well, I don't really need to do that, I'll just give him the ball and let him do it. But with regards to Sean, I think he played really well on Saturday in a different position. What I like about the lad is we've asked him to play 2 or 3 different positions, never comes and asks you why, never questions the way, why are you actually doing that, I just want to play here. He just gets on with it, you know, and he's good to have around, he's really good in the dressing room. And I know I spoke briefly to you before and you said to me about Sean 18 months ago was more or less the reason why if they'd have stayed up, it would have been down to Sean Newton in a lot of ways. But I think he's getting up there towards them levels again with what I've seen in the last 2 games, and whether that's because he's seen new bodies coming into the building and thinking I have to really make sure I'm in this team, brilliant.
Ask you about the captaincy as well, because I think we were totting it up last night. There's 7 players so far this season have worn the captain's armband. Yeah. I know some of them are substitutions and it just gets passed on to whoever's been coming off. Does it matter who's captain? And why was John Burrow at the minute got the captain's armband from the start of games?
I think generally I'd like to have as many leaders in the team as possible because I think that's important, you know, reliable people that go about the game the right way, people who are really professional every day when they come here. So I'm looking at all them things. You don't have to necessarily be the loudest player at the training ground or in the dressing room to be a leader. Jordan Burrow's not that type, you know, he's not a shouter and a baller, but if he's not happy, you know about it. And with Jordan, I have to say he's a really positive influence on the group in terms of the way he goes about everything that he does. If we go back to on Saturday, he's playing up against 3 centre-halves on his own, and all 3 of them come off that game knowing that they're being in the game. I thought he did really well again last night, and now he's got a bit of help again alongside him. But in terms of the captaincy, the way that I see it, if we have to change it around at times to try and get a little bit more out of someone, then that's one of the things that we have to think about. But at this moment in time, the way Jordan's been playing, I know he's probably not scored as many goals as he did like the last 3 or 4 games, but in terms of the way that he's actually played, I think he's been doing really well. And we want that to continue, and if that means we get a little bit more out of him wearing the armband, then let's carry on.
A couple of new additions, Sam.
Yeah.
One on the playing side, one of the youth team lads has signed his first professional contract.
Yeah.
First of all, tell us about him.
Really lucky in terms of, I spent a lot of time with him when I first came here in July. I didn't know him prior to that, but we're very fortunate to have him here. He really impressed me in that 6 weeks, 2 months period of time. Since then, he's flitted in and out from the under-19s group, trained with the first team quite a lot because that's one of the things that I like to do. And when he steps up and come with us, he's done really well. Played last week in the North Riding Cup game against North Allerton. And he was outstanding in the game, and that was probably after the game I'm thinking we need to be very careful with this because there was going to be clubs looking at this kid and thinking, wow, you know, he's got a real chance. And then I give him a little reward as such, being on the bench on Saturday, because I think that's important for young players. And looking back on my own career, you need someone to be brave to take a chance on you, and I've always never been afraid of doing that. If I think young kids are doing it, I'll give them the opportunity, because what it does is the pros are looking over the shoulders then and thinking, God, you know, I've got to up my game. And with the young ones, there's no fear with them, so they just go and play. And like I say, I give him that little reward on Saturday to come with us, along with another young player in Archie Whitfield. And then we spoke to Reese's parents over the last couple of days, and we said to them, obviously we wanted to offer him a professional contract. And I know myself and the football club are absolutely delighted about that, because we think as time progresses and he keeps developing the way that we're hoping he will do, with myself and Stuart working with him, with Tim Ryan, who's come in as the under-19s coach as well, who's got a lot of experience from his playing career, got good experience in terms of the coaching side of it as well, a really professional guy. I think the future's looking bright in terms of what we've got coming beneath us.
Where's Reese's natural position, and what do you say to him? Because you had him on the bench last week, but clearly at the minute he's not going to get part of your matchday squad.
Yeah, it's just it's probably pretty much the same with Nathan. You know, I have to be careful in terms of burning them out. You know, because when they do first go into the first team, a lot of it's on adrenaline. So trying to find that right balance in terms of when you give them the opportunity, when you give them a little step back from it, like we did last night with Nathan after Saturday. But he just has to keep pushing. You know, keep pushing, keep giving me a problem in terms of, God, you can't leave this kid out anymore. You know, we have to give him that opportunity now to go and really express himself and get him in and around it even more. He can play 2 or 3 positions. He can play. I was told he was a right back when I first came, but same with what I've done with a few of the players. I was playing him in centre midfield because he's so comfortable on the ball. He can play right wing if you needed him to do that, so he gives you good options, and it's good to have players who are flexible. At this moment in time, if you ask me what I thought his best position was, I'd probably say as an advanced midfield player. But for a young kid, as young as he actually is, he's got some real talent, and we have to try and nurture that and improve it, and then hopefully then the club's going to see a really talented kid come through. And
the new youth team coach, obviously that's the position you used to have. Why is that position so important at the football club?
Well, I can only go off the way that I see it and the way that I've always done it when I work with the kids. You got to push them out of the comfort zone. You got to teach them the beliefs that you have in yourself in terms of when you've had a career and you've played for a long time, and you kind of, this is going off myself, I always thought I need to try and pass all that knowledge on to them, you know. I remember when I was a young player, being around senior players, that they were very standoffish in terms of wanting to help me, so it was kind of self-taught at times until you got around the right type of people who wanted to help you. And that always stuck in my mind as a player when I got older. A lot of the time towards the end of my career I was playing with young defenders as such, and I always wanted to help them. And then obviously what followed after that in terms of the coaching and everything else, for about the last 4 or 5 years I kind of gave up everything that I believed in or I wanted to be at some stage, because I really took a lot of satisfaction working with young players, and a lot of it is because I took a lot of pride in seeing them improve, you know, and I felt a lot of satisfaction because of that. And Tim sees it the same way, which is important, you know, because I've got to work, myself and Stuart have got to work closely with him now, and if he's not got the same beliefs as what we've had, then there's kind of a conflict of interest a little bit. And he's the same, dead keen to get the young ones coming through, are working really hard every day, which is what they need. And he's the same as I am in terms of he wants to push them on and get them with me, and then hopefully we can get him in the team, and then it looks good on everyone, you know. That's the plan moving forward.
Brilliant.